I'm sure we've all noticed that old people are always complaining that things have gone downhill since they were children themselves and the world is not what it once was. I'm no exception because I'm constantly astounded by the absence in young people in Britain of what I think were once basic knowledge and skills. This includes general knowledge, mathematics and the ability to use the English language. Perhaps I'm mistaken in this. My memory might be playing me false. It's possible. I do have difficulty remembering things these days. However, we can gauge at least to some extent how things may have changed, if indeed they have changed, by looking at what sort of knowledge was once expected of children at British primary schools. That is to say, children aged no more than 11. Until a little over 50 years ago, all children in Britain were required to sit an examination in their last year at primary school, something called the 11 plus. This was divided into English, mathematics and general knowledge sections and gives us a rough idea, very rough idea, of what a bright child was expected to know before moving on to secondary school. At the beginning of this video, I put 3 questions from the mathematics section of an old 11 plus paper. Perhaps viewers would care to go back and look at them and see if they can tackle them, without a calculator of course. They are as follows. Simplify 7,236 times 5,287. An aeroplane flies from Glasgow to London in 1 hour 51 minutes at 220 miles per hour. Find the distance in miles. And write down the prime factors of 210. Unless I'm very much mistaken, I don't think many viewers are going to be able to find the answer to those questions using just a pencil and paper. Never mind, maybe they might fare a little bit better with these questions, which are from a 2014 GCSE mathematics paper for 15 and 16-year-olds. Ready? Work out a quarter of 24 kilograms. The mountain K3 is 8,051 metres in height. Write down 8,051 in figures. Hands up who found the questions for modern 16-year-olds easier than for those aimed at 11-year-olds in the 1950s. Still, maybe that's not fair. We're not all maths whizzes, are we? Let's have a go at the general knowledge questions. Viewers might care to pause the video after I read out these questions and try and write down 4 or 5 lines about these topics. Are we ready? The questions read as follows. Write a short account about 4 or 5 lines on any 3 of the following: Everest, Westminster Abbey, the Gothic, William Shakespeare, the Maoris. Okay, was anybody able to write 4 or 5 lines about the Gothic? What about Everest? It's the world's highest mountain and it's in Nepal. That takes up almost a whole line. First climbed by Edmund Hillary in 1953. That might make 2 lines. Anybody put another 3 lines about it? Anybody manage 5 lines about Everest or Westminster Abbey or the Maoris? Could any viewers even define what is meant by the Gothic? 60 years ago, it was assumed that many 11-year-olds would be able to write 5 lines on these subjects. Dear me, we're not doing very well so far, are we? Let's try another general knowledge question. Are we ready? The following incidents occur in well-known books which you may have read. 1. Tom comes down the wrong chimney. 2. Jim discovers the chart of Treasure Island. 3. Crusoe discovers a footprint in the sand. 4. Joe visits Laurie for the first time. 5. Alice drinks from the little bottle. 6. Black Beauty hears the hounds. Describe briefly 2 of these incidents. How many 10 or 11-year-olds today are likely to have read Robinson Crusoe and to be able to describe intelligently part of the plot from the book? Has anybody here even read Robinson Crusoe? Could anybody here actually describe Joe meeting Laurie? Could they say anything at all about the plot of the Water Babies? It was assumed 50 or 60 years ago that any reasonably educated literate child would have read Daniel Defoe, Anna Sewell, Charles Kingsley and so on. We'll also remember that these questions were asked of every child in the country during the last year of primary school. Although many would struggle with them, the general assumption was that a lot would not. It was honestly believed that a good proportion of 11-year-olds would be able to write 5 lines about Gothic architecture, carry out long division and long multiplication, and be familiar with the works of authors such as Daniel Defoe and Charles Kingsley. Even for children today coming from the most affluent homes and educated privately at the best schools, I rather doubt if it's at all likely that any would be able to tackle questions of this sort. I mean, make of it what you will. Does that mean that children today, young people, have a different set of skills, a different bit of knowledge? Or does it mean that their knowledge is inferior and perhaps degraded compared with what was expected 60 years ago?